Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. We're doing a special edition of our Spotlight on the Community Show here at the Rancho Bernardo Inn. It is the 39th Volunteer Award celebration for the North County Philanthropy Council. We have with us today Neville Billimoria. He's the board president for NCPC, joined by board member Del Lewis and the executive director, Jim Davis. So Jim, Del, and Neville, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
We're good. We'll start with you, Neville, and then we'll sort of go around the horn on this. How long have you been with the NCPC, and what's the mission?
So NCPC is a convener of conveners, a nonprofit of nonprofits. If you think about the social sector, there's three groups. There's the philanthropists of funders, there's the nonprofits, 13,000 in San Diego, and there's the membership groups that convene and gather and create value for one another. So NCPC has been doing this for 39 years. It's our 39th year. Looking forward to the 40th, which is going to be a big one.
Right.
Our mission is to really support the social sector. We think about the public, the private, and the social sector. And now more than ever, the social sector needs to stand up and both re-ideate themselves as well as continue to provide value into the community.
No, I couldn't agree more. Del, how long have you been on the board?
I'm a relative newbie. I've been on the board just a little less than 2 years.
Okay.
But it's been a great ride so far.
Yeah.
Things that they do are fantastic.
What drew you to NCPC?
Somebody
Besides Neville and Jim.
Well, that's exactly right. Somebody wrote me into it, and when Neville says do something, I do it. So that's why.
Right. When it's not, it's jump how high you want me to jump and all that. But
Stop it.
Exactly.
But the cause and what we do, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And Jim, how long you been involved as the ED?
I've been the ED at NCPC for about a year and a half.
Right.
But involved in nonprofits for better than 35 years now.
Right. No, I appreciate your service with that, to say the least. And talk about this awards, 39 years.
Yeah, terrific event. It's our opportunity to recognize outstanding volunteers with any organization that works with volunteers. This year we're recognizing 68 different individuals from 68 different organizations. My opinion, volunteerism is the greatest form of philanthropy. So to get the opportunity to recognize these folks and all the work that they do is just a tremendous honor. There's so many organizations out there that just don't get by without volunteers, ourselves included. Our volunteers are our board, plus about probably 30 other individuals. So, we don't do what we do without volunteers.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. How are the 68 chosen? Do they submit names? How does that work?
Yeah, organizations out there that work with volunteers, if they're 501c3 organizations, they have about 6 months ago the chance to go ahead and nominate somebody that they would like to honor. We do have 4 special awards that we also take nominations for. They're named after very specific people that have been part of our past.
Right.
But we also do a corporate philanthropy award, and then a Bo Mazzetti award, which is an award going to an organization that works with indigenous peoples. It's just a really neat award. But they reach out to us and tell us that they'd like to recognize them, and then we do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. And Neville, since you and I have known each other, literally, basically when we started walking upright as human beings, but to Jim's point, obviously volunteerism, you can quantify it by hourly, of how many hours you put in that equals X amount an hour, and that's a lot of money, correct?
And skill-based volunteering is 10x the amount of so
right.
If I do a beach cleanup, that might be worth $35, but if I'm able to provide subject matter expertise on my area of competency, that could be worth $350 an hour.
Right.
So it's not just the hours you spend, it's how you are discerning and thoughtful about optimizing that. And to Jim's point earlier, historically, this was only for NCPC members. This year we opened it up to all of San Diego's nonprofits because we felt they all needed to be heard, honored, affirmed, So that's a different kind of orientation. We don't have 13,000 here, thank God, because we wouldn't have been able to park. But the aspiration is to continue to grow this opportunity.
Very, very good. So then, Dell, the next step is going to be Petco Park to fill that. Is that the idea?
That's the idea, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. What's your area of expertise when you've served on boards and all that?
So I'm a serial entrepreneur, business person.
Congratulations.
And I work with privately held companies and help them build and grow. So been doing a lot in the private sector on the money side. And, it's nonprofits that really make our community work and sing. And so I think this particular event is so important because they're the unsung heroes. And we get to sing to them a little bit today.
Yeah, and it's those volunteers. Neville's heard me say this a billion times, and Jim, we may have mentioned it when you were on our Spotlight in the Community podcast, is that, listen, whatever you can volunteer time-wise is fine. We'll take anything. Same thing in donations. $5, beautiful. At least you're engaged. Maybe next year it's 10, maybe next year it's 20. Maybe this year you can only do 2 hours a month. Okay, now you love the event, and we all know what happens when you get involved with these nonprofits. It just grows exponentially, in this area. And I'm just so pleased that you guys are recognizing this for 75 different reasons on this. Do you see that more and more businesses are understanding how critical it is to lend their employees, if available, to volunteerism? I'll start with you on that, Jim.
Yeah, I think that I think that there's an interesting dynamic there. It's the corporation nonprofit dynamic that we're actually trying to change at NCPC. We really want to be partners with some of these corporations. I think the past dynamic has been, they're the providers and we're the providee. We want to change that dynamic a bit and become a little bit more of a partner and working on that kind of partnership on quite a few organizations right now, corporations. But yeah, the corporations have specific needs that they want to have met. And a lot of them is to make sure that their employees are out there in the community. And we can certainly fill that need, whether it's with us at NCPC or one of the 250 organizations that we work with.
Yeah,
I want a piece of this one.
You may.
All
okay.
right,
Unfortunately, your mic will be shut off in a second.
Not again. God, this always happens to me.
Never.
So I think we have some implicit assumptions that are flawed. So, for example, generally accepted accounting practices, GAAP, put people as an expense. I think people are an investment. So implicitly at the onset, there's a flawed thinking. Similarly, nonprofit is a tax designation. We are open to and want to include everybody. I don't care if you're a B Corp, LLC, your tax designation is not the point. The point is, if you think profit is the only reason to exist, that's one thing. If you understand that profit is a means to an end and your purpose is why you drive value to your community, that's a different conversation. And today, people like Dell, who come from the business side as serial entrepreneurs, can help the nonprofit sector better understand their business models, diversifying revenue, how to have reserves, things that typically nonprofits are not particularly good at. We're damn good at mission-driven. We're really good at engaging our stakeholders. But let's stop defining ourselves by our tax status.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And Dell, as you know, and Neville, I've talked about it quite a bit on the show, is that, when businesses are opening their doors to their employees to get engaged, and the employees see that X business is focused on pick a topic, the environment, literacy, doesn't make a difference. That is a happier employer. We've done many, many studies on this. Roper has made a cottage industry on, these types of things in that area. So when you work with a nonprofit or any business for that matter, but we'll do the nonprofit world, and as Neville mentioned, 13,000 nonprofits. Of course, that number changes every time I talk to somebody, to be honest with you. The overwhelming majority bring in zero revenue. They're out there just doing the best they can do with whatever they have.
And 3/4 have no employees.
100%, exactly. And not much revenue. What do you work with most on them? Do you just let them know that, hey, listen, obviously to sustain yourself, you need to do X, and the more you sustain yourself, the better work that you get to do in your cause?
Yeah, and the other part to that is that the work that they do and the value that they deliver is worth money as well.
Right.
And so a lot of it is getting over this mindset of, if we're nonprofit, we need to be broke, because that just doesn't work. And the things
Correct.
that you're doing and putting out to the community are of value. and you have every right to get a financial remuneration for that value, which is only going to support your mission, which is only going to make what you do better.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that. As Neville knows, I've been lucky enough to be involved in nonprofits, Classroom of the Future, since it started in '97, and Junior Achievement that Neville knows.
Yeah, just for all you listeners, Drew's been in this game for a long time. He's been on a lot of boards. He's a community and civics servant and leader. So don't sell yourself short. Keep going, Drew.
Yeah, well, no, I like serving better, in this area, and what I'm sort of glad to see happening, better later than never, is that when monies are distributed to nonprofits, people are they do need operation money, don't they? Yes, they do. If you're giving them money that they have to disseminate, there's a cost for them to disseminate it. And finally, we're starting to get some people to say, hey, I understand that if we think you're good stewards of the money that we lend to you, we know you're going to be good stewards and all that business. Maybe you can chat a little bit about that too, Neville.
Yeah, so unrestricted funding is the category this goes under. Nobody wants to.
Correct.
I don't want to pay for staff. I don't want to. Well, how the hell are they going to do the work? So it's a misnomer. And similarly, I think we've migrated from checkbook philanthropy, where you write a big fat check for somebody or cause that you care about, to impact investment.
Yeah.
This is a business imperative. This can be and drive real both economic and human value back into our system. But it's up to us to reset the table and make that an expectation, not just a aberration.
Right, and I think with this 39th annual, the volunteer, award celebration that you now opened up to everybody is just the start of people really understanding this, and I think good for you folks for doing that. And last comment on here, Jim, I'll start with you on this, and certainly Dell, you jump in, and Neville. Nonprofits are an economic engine for any region, and if you don't think they are contributing to a region, then you don't understand what nonprofits do.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego alone is absolutely huge with the impact that nonprofits have on the economy. Not only that, but better than 80% of San Diegans have reported that they use nonprofits. The faith and trust in nonprofits is at an all-time high. It's an industry that absolutely needs to thrive. And it's a little bit difficult this day and age, the economy and whatever else you want to talk about. But we're all trying to do our best to kind of make it. But if nonprofits don't make it, San Diego's going to struggle.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Dell, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say it any better than you've already said it, Drew. So many things that nonprofits do affect the economic engine of the community, and it's just, if you just take a look at what a particular nonprofit, pick any one, what it does, I guarantee you'll probably find some economic impact for the community.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Neville, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so back to confidence. We're a crisis of confidence right now. The nonprofit sector has the highest confidence versus businesses next and government last. Economic engine, at least 10% of California is driven by the social sector. And 3, let's all ask ourselves what we can do to show up in service and support of our communities. This is now more than ever. Let's not waste the crisis, or hope is not a strategy. We have all these buzzword bingo business. The reality is now is when we need to all step up, and NCPC is just one illustrative example, hopefully illuminating example of what's possible when we think we, not me, when we put the greater good ahead of ourselves. And I'm so grateful to have a small part, a bit part, in a much bigger play that hopefully will make impact and leave a legacy for generations to come.
Well, it is. And then, and just last comment on this, we all know that, sometimes habits of kids are formed when they see their parents, whether it's reading or whether it's giving back or they're serving meals, but volunteering is one of them. And those who have seen their parents and grandparents volunteer, whatever it is, will be doing the same thing when they get older. Neville Billimoria, congratulations once again for another great great event that you're involved in. I know you're passionate about NCPC, and this 39th Annual Volunteer Award Celebration will just be that. Absolutely. Del Lewis, thank you. What a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for what you are doing, in the community, being on the board as well. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Jim, good seeing you again. Wishing you guys nothing but just a kick butt event today. And I think getting started, 68 volunteers in 2026, probably be 668 in 2027.
I can only hope.
Yeah, very good. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to a special edition of our Spotlight on the Community Show, the 39th Volunteer Award Celebration by NCPC here at Rancho Bernardo Inn. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.